Hello Deepak ji, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Vishal? Everything
I'm
good?
I'm good. All good, all good.
Yes, yes.
So, Shubham and Hinal, can we begin with the webinar?
Sure. Yes, sir, let's start.
Okay, okay. So, welcome all to this webinar from Hospertz. As a routine, we have planned to have a webinar every 15 days, which will specially touch base on. Can we have mute Deepak from your end?
Yeah, sure.
It's discussion. Yeah, thank you so much. So as per the plan, every 15 days we have decided to have a webinar which will touch base on all kinds of healthcare related queries, which all our upcoming projects, the clients which we are having, their upcoming projects, whatever they comes into the mind, which will be discussed in the common webinar session over here. So based on that, today's webinar will be specially touch based on the topics where architects will have a primary role to talk upon today. The last two webinars were primarily into the introduction of Hospertz and what exactly is detailed project report. And we were happy to see that many queries, many requirements came up after the DPR webinar, whereby we just came to understand that many people have certain questions about how to plan a project or how to plan a healthcare practice when they go down to enter into entrepreneurship in near future. So yes, so we begin with this webinar. Thank you so much, guests, for joining. I can see few doctors also joined in the webinar and a few non-medicos as well. So that's really a nice thing to know. Uh, let's start this webinar then. This webinar will have a topic of discussion which has been already mentioned on your screen. We will touch base on 7 topics today. Before starting with the discussions, I would like to introduce the architects who will be involved in this webinar. We have a guest with us, architect Deepak Jha, who is right now on the screen as well. Deepak ji is a managing director and principal architect with A plus D Group in Indore. He is graduated from School of Planning and Architecture, and he has an extensive practice of doing exclusively architect projects and has currently handling more than 500 plus crore projects across 7 states. He has also done research in healthcare architecture, and currently he is doing few projects right from 50 to 300 bed hospitals in in these 7 states where currently he has his own practice. Talking about his credentials, he has presented himself twice for the World Architectural Festival among the 6 entries in the world. So that's really a commendable thing which Deepak ji has done, and he also has a project named on super specialty cardiac hospital in Steel, Kolkata, which was shortlisted as one of the top 8 entries by the government of India. Deepak ji will primarily speak upon 2 topics. One would be the role of architecture in healthcare. Now, what important it is to have an architect who has an healthcare knowledge is what Deepak ji will be more focusing on, and he will continue with how to create a positive environment in space for patients as well as doctors. These will be the 2 topics he will begin with, and he will also conclude our webinar by having a very interesting topic which all of us will be interested upon is hospital construction cost. As it is getting expensive, what are the measures or new formulas which we can think upon to save right money in the right place for the correct stakeholders of the project. So these are the 3 topics. Deepak ji will have a talk. Another architect we have with us, she is our in-house architect, the senior architect, Pranjali Lumen. Talking about Pranjali, she is working with me for more than 2 years now, and she has recently been awarded as the best employee of my company as well. So kudos to her. Giving few details about her, she has done bachelor's from Mumbai, from a premium institute, Babu Sahib Hire College of Architecture in Mumbai. After which she pursued masters in Coventry University, UK, and her research topic was sustainability in healthcare in metropolitan cities. This has given us a lot of help to how to have a sustainable plan when we come for a healthcare project in a metropolitan city where space is the major constraint which we come across. So she will talk about two topics, primarily how to do space planning, which is a very keen and interesting topic in today's date for any doctor or anyone who's coming up with a healthcare project. And obviously, Vastu is the new thing which doctors are also keen to understand, that how the space has to be planned as per Vastu compliances. She has more than 9 years of experience, and she has also done few residential commercial projects, but now she is inclined mainly into hospital and healthcare architecture, focused mainly into that. She has been assisting prior to my company for two big 300-bed projects in prime location of Mumbai, which was been designed by her old organization for municipal setup, that was at Dadar and Vikroli. So she has a good hands-on knowledge of licensing as well, which is one of the keen factor or keen thing to be known once we come into healthcare architecture. Talking about the last architect, uh, which is Snigdha Chaudhary. She is also our in-house architect from Hospertz. She is again more than 6 months been associated with Hospertz, and she has completed her bachelor's from Mumbai, that is IES College of Architecture, and now she is pursuing post graduation in hospital planning and design. She had also completed a thesis on balance between development and ecology, whereby study on construction and its impact on ecology, and how sustainable architecture can be incorporated in forms of green buildings. So today her topic of discussion will be mainly into how to create green hospital and the NABH and NBC norms which are required for hospital design. So we begin with architect Deepak Jha, who will introduce again a short introduction on himself, as well as he'll talk about the topics which needs to be discussed. Over to you, Deepak ji. Sir, your voice is in mute.
Thank you, Vishal.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now? Yeah, and I'm very first of all, thank you, Pranjali, Snigdha. You both are guys, like you both guys are architects, and I'm so happy to see you guys here. And so Vishal Salvi, hi. I'm happy to see two architects joining me here on this platform. That's so grateful. That's great. And good afternoon,
Likewise.
all. And thank you,
Thank you,
Anuja.
sir.
Yeah. So, Vishal, I think you have already given enough introduction, so I don't need to introduce myself now much. And when we talk about, let's start what we have discussed about that. What exactly is healthcare architecture, and why do we need architects in healthcare architecture? That is more important that we need to discuss. Actually, Vishal, if you see hospital infrastructure.
Just sorry to interrupt, Deepak.
Yeah.
All our guests are requested any questions you have, you can just type it down in the chat box, and we will be happy to answer it after the webinar gets over, because it
Anytime.
will be it will be very disturbing for the guest while speaking and answering you. So I just request all our guests, anything you have query, you can just type it on the chat box, and my team will help you in that. Yes, Deepak, please
Sure.
continue. Thank you.
So Vishal, it's when you talk about healthcare architecture, to be very frank, uh, while doing architecture course in college and while practicing now in my field, what I see, it is among one of the most typical infrastructure that we develop in most critical at the same time. I would say it's very service oriented, and very complex infrastructure that we have to develop while designing it, So it's not only at the same time, if I talk about healthcare architecture, you have to take care of people who are in stress, first of all. So architecture is all about architects here becomes an agent of care, right? So while designing spaces, you have to take care of all these things, in your mind, that how to create spaces which are very much positive and friendly to not only the patients and people, patients and the relatives who have come there, also for the people who are working over there, because working in such a stressful environment is a quite difficult thing. We can't even imagine of people. We can't even imagine the situation. Definitely, we all have been to hospitals so many times, but when something comes on you, handling that situation is very tough. So in that case, creating something which is very very friendly to you, and then creating something which, which not only manages the stress of patients and their relatives, even managing the even creating an environment which is very positive and maintains the energy of staff working over there, keeps them a little healthy and happy, is the most important primary role of an architect, I think. So moreover, when it comes to when I'm talking about hospital design, any kind of design when we do, keeping all these things in mind, you have to keep all these things in mind, but you have to take care of the most important services that comes in designing the hospital, right? Because hospitals, I told you, we have extreme level of intricate services which runs in a hospital, which you won't find anywhere in other buildings. So you're not only designing spaces, you have to design typical services which are coming in, and those services sometimes become hindrance while designing a lot. Not only that, if you see when I have seen, discussed with so many doctors, we have been doing so many hospitals across India, but even hospitals sometimes, when we do let's talk about small hospitals and big hospitals also. Designing not only comes you are designing mega hospital structures. Sometimes while you're designing a small clinics, small laboratories, while you're designing a small hospitals, there comes the role of doctors who own that hospital. They are very possessive at the same time, they have certain way of doing their work, certain way of they have been using their space. So there comes the role of doctors, that you have to talk to them, you have to know their requirements, know their how they basically function in their existing spaces. So while doing these, you get to know that every doctor, because they want to save their time, because they are more focused on their work, and they don't want something which interrupts them while doing their surgeries, or while they are checking the patients in their OPDs, or while they are checking on around in their IPDs. So they don't want that. So they want their spaces to be aligned as per their function, as per their way of working. So sometimes it becomes very interesting, and I have while I have been designing hospital with doctors who own 20 bedded and 30 bedded facilities, 40 bedded and 50 bedded facilities. I have seen their doctors have their own space requirements. Their doctors have their own way of designing spaces, and that becomes little more challenging while you are designing a hospital. At the same time, this is one thing that plays a very very important role in designing smaller hospitals. But while you are designing big hospitals, when it comes to designing super big hospitals, what happens? You have certain norms, rules, and regulations. You have Indian Health Facility Guidelines, International Health Facility Guidelines. You already have so many diagrams of various units like OPDs, IPDs, cath lab, whatever. There's so many wings in a hospital. So you already have a basic defined spaces. So there are basically two kind of spaces in a hospital, and they are desirable spaces and non-desirable spaces. So for desirable spaces, you already have a norms. You already have set of norms. Like you need to have this much sizes for OT. You need to have this much size for ICU. This much size to be given for one single patient in an ICU. So you can't, you cannot you cannot make these spaces smaller. You cannot alter these spaces. The only thing is like how you put these spaces in the whole designing the whole spaces, how you put how you at the same time meeting the demands of the doctor who is designing that whole hospital. But there are some spaces like non-desirable spaces which is completely dependent upon architects how to design those spaces. Now coming to the point, in bigger hospitals when it comes, in smaller hospitals, even if you have services are not that intense, not that complex. But when it comes to super specialty and bigger hospitals, services are very, very complex. So you have to follow those certain diagrams and certain norms so that your hospital becomes more functional, and at the same time it is functional for the it is more adaptive by the patients, staff who are working over there as well. So these are few important things that you have to keep in mind while designing a hospital. And why do you need architect? So while definitely when you have certain set you have so much of thing to do in hospital, you have set of norms, you have certain you have to design these spaces which are more healing rather than curing kind of space for the patients. And it's proven fact that when you are designing some hospital, when you design some environment which is very positive, automatically it affects the health of the people who are working over there. So we even look into the optimum healing environmental parameters and factors, which helps us a lot in designing hospital which is more positive. Like I tell you a few basic things which are very, very important, like what kind of ventilation is there in hospital, do we have direct visibility to the greenery outside or not, or do we have some what kind of colors we have used in our infrastructure, what kind of artifacts we have placed in our corridors, in the bedrooms, what kind of paints, what kind of in fact planters you have used inside. So moreover, when someone comes in stress, it is always better to make a space more bright, white, more welcoming rather than savvy spaces, because you must have gone to so many hospitals in government hospitals, or hospitals which were made 20, 30 years back, very small spaces, very savvy spaces, no ventilation. So has a very, very negative impact on the brain of patients who are working over there. Not only the brain of patients, it also impacts the staffs who are working over there. They get frustrated sometimes. So while designing hospital, you have to create some spaces which positively distracts the brain of patients. Like they are in pain, they are in stress, but how their eyes engage themselves in some other thing and makes them their mood a little lighter, their mood a little more better and very positive. Like you have some beautiful artifact placed inside the ICUs, the inpatient departments, and some greenery. You can place your windows on certain floors, or you can have vertical gardens also inside the hospitals where you visibility wise you see anywhere from the hospital you can have such kind of spaces. So these are very, very basic important factors which we think while designing a hospital. So now you guys can put some questions also if you guys have that. What kind of any questions that you guys have in your mind? Is there anyone? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Pranjali.
Yeah, I think let's go ahead with the webinar, and people can post their questions on the comment box, and then we can visit them later at the end of the webinar, maybe.
Okay. Why not?
Let me just start with my part, and then we'll go to Snigdha's part. Is
Sure,
that
sure.
okay? Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Pranjali. I'm a senior architect at Hospertz India Private Limited. I'm here to speak about Vastu Shastra and NABH accreditation. Let's start with Vastu Shastra first. Vastu Shastra is our indigenous ancient science of architecture, as you all know. Vastu literally translates to space, and Shastra translates to science. Vastu Shastra is based on sun and moon path, also the winds that blow throughout the year, which influence our day-to-day utilization in a given space. We at Hospertz help you with designing as per the principles of Vastu Shastra as much as possible to maintain the correct energy flow to successfully facilitate positivity and healing in a hospital. Some of the Vastu principles include having critical areas like OT, ICU to the west or the southwest, having patient wards or rooms to the east since it promotes healing, having OPD or the billing counter towards the north or the northwest or the northeast, sorry. We suggest to have toilet or wet areas like dirty utility, clean utility, laundry areas to be planned to the west. The entrance should be north side. The hospitals in the past have instilled that fear amongst people, where we directly relate hospitals to either death or a disturbing environment. Therefore, we to overcome that, we make sure to design a lot of open spaces and interactive spaces with having clear paths without any hindrances in a hospital structure for the space to not feel stuffy and uncomfortable like a typical hospital which people are afraid of. Uh, Eventually you will realize these small tips make a huge difference in the overall running of the hospital for both the patients, the doctors, and the staff that is working in the hospital. Now let's come to the NABH accreditation. NABH is an accreditation that is issued to hospitals and healthcare infrastructure to administer their working. Infrastructure plays a huge part in the actual working of the hospital as it ensures all the relevant spaces are put next to each other for easy and convenient access. These eventually help in the successful running of a hospital. NABH basically checks if the structures are designed as per National Building Code or the NBC, which is based on which the governing authorities give out their building permissions. So basically, they'll check if your permissions are approved, your building plans are approved, your having your licenses are approved, your fire is approved, and that is how they'll go ahead with the accreditation. We normally require minimum 6 to 8 feet wide corridors leading, especially in spaces which are leading to critical patient areas. We suggest at least providing at least 120 square feet of space to a single bed, which is according NABH again. X-ray room is supposed to be 180 square feet along with the console. USG room or the sonography room is supposed to be 120 square feet. which helps with the post licensing, your ARB license, your PCP&DT license. Also, like I said in the previous webinar, your pharmacy is supposed to be again 120 square feet, which helps with the FDA license. Also, NABH insists having a second staircase, and if a second staircase is not possible, you're supposed to give an enclosed staircase with a fire retarded resistant door. um, NABH rules ensure that the hospital and all the equipments and facilities that are provided in a hospital are working successfully to provide world class patient care. So that's about it. I hope you all come back again next time. Um, Thank you so much. Over to you, Snigdha.
Hello, thank you, Pranjali. Thank you, Deepak sir. This was very advisable and to us. I'll be talking about two topics, that is green hospitals and space planning. So when it comes to green hospitals or green building is the one that is economically viable, environmentally green and socially acceptable. As defined by the Indian Green Building Council, a green building is the one which uses less water, optimizes energy, conserve natural resources, generate less waste, and produce a healthier space for its user, your being the patients and the doctor. A green building has tremendous benefits, both tangible and intangible. The benefits of reduction of water and energy consumptions right from the day one of use. A green building consumes around 40 to 60% less electricity as compared to the regular one. Generally, hospitals use solar panels and other non-conventional power production techniques to become self-sufficient and independent. A water consumption can be reduced by a large margin by the use of rainwater harvesting, which will benefit in the consumption of water usage during the hospitals. As we understand, there are multiple water uses in a hospital, from substation in OT to toilets in IPD rooms and OPD rooms. Everything concludes in that. The other benefits of having a green building is good quality of air, excellent daylight throughout the time, improved health and well-being of a patient. The basic idea of having a green building design always aims to create an healing environment for its patient, reduce stress and promote the well-being and making hospital more pleasant and comfortable for its user. According to a healthpreneur, as a business person, you should invest in the green building as it will overall give you a better result in saving energies and helping the environment as well. The second topic that I would be talking about today is space planning. Space planning is a critical aspect of interior designing. As it involves organization and arrangements of rooms, OPDs, IPDs, the OT sections, arrangement of furniture, fixtures, the other elements with space to optimize its functionality, create a comfortable, effective, and aesthetically pleasing environment. At medical planning stage, many criteria such as horizontal and vertical relations of department, relations of sterile and non-sterile zone, relations of patients and outpatients is directly connected. Wherein you have to have some good space planning which will help in maximizing the use of the space, and all, a good design would actually eventually help you to have a bigger in a smaller space have bigger strength in the bed matrix, and this will help you eventually have a more greater income. In addition, this discussion positively affects on both project design period and construction and operation cost. A correctly drawn up clinic design project must be into account of various force measures circumstances, including the need of transport, seriously ill patients. Considering when you consider a space planning, we generally suggest that casualty area should be near to the entrance. There should be a proper area for circulation of stretcher trolleys. This all little things that we keep in mind help in having a better stage in the progress. The work of hospital space planner is based on several key subjects: preparation of sketches, the architectural part, constructions, engineering trainings, and any of those sorts. Basically, in space planning, we add up on things where such minute things have been missed. Like when you design an OT, you generally have to design two lobbies. You have to put an autoclave. You have to put sterile zones, scrub stations. All of those have to be planned so particularly that you minimize the waste of area and maximum utility is being done in a small space as well. I hope this was helpful to all of you, and I'll be handing over to Deepak sir. And Deepak sir, it would be great if you take over the construction part as well.
Is Deepak sir here?
Since you have, you can start up with that.
Hello, Deepak sir? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm there, Pranjali. I was just looking into the questions of few doctors and like few who have joined. I was looking into their questions, so we can like definitely answer them while
So let's go ahead with
after this webinar.
let's,
So we can text them
yes,
after this webinar about whatever questions that they have put.
yes, definitely, sir.
Yeah. So I think there's a last question which is left, and we can put a light on those questions also.
Yeah, sir, let's come back to the questions later. Let's speak about how to reduce construction costs in architecture. Yes.
See what happens, like basically while designing, like I told you about these spaces. Like I told you two major factors while we had to while we design hospitals. Like if you go through the norms of Indian health facility guidelines, you will see there are two kind of basic spaces while designing hospital. One is desirable and one is non-desirable, right? So when for desirable spaces, you cannot do anything. You have to go with the norms of the hospital कि हमें कितना एरिया लेना है, नहीं लेना है, हमें कितना एरिया लेकर उस स्पेस को डिजाइन करना है, because we have to meet NBCC requirements at the same time NABH का requirements we have to fulfill. So while we have to fulfill both these requirements, we cannot change the space requirements. What we can change, but for non-desirable spaces, we can change. It is all dependent upon what kind of aesthetics we need in designing the hospital. At the same time, this is two major things you can save somewhere in non-desirable spaces. You can save if you are designing it effectively and in meeting all the requirements, but you are designing very effectively, proper planning you are doing it, then definitely you can cut down somewhat the slab area of the hospital, because those spaces are you have to do as per your own requirements. You don't need to go through NBCC guidelines, or you don't need to go through NABH guidelines. But when it comes to this is one part that you have saved on the slab area. Now coming to the next part, that is interior parts, interiors and services. While designing, I told you earlier also, like service planning is one of the most important factor while designing a hospital. Many times, we as an architects, sometimes while doing the basic designing part, we don't look into the services part while designing it. And उसमें क्या होता है कि हम services को ऐसी जगह place कर देते हैं जहाँ से उसको अलग-अलग units में पहुँचाना becomes very difficult for us. For that, then we need different spaces to be created. Certain अलग level पे हमें plumbing करानी होती है, अलग level पे हमें electrical करानी होती है. इन spaces को अगर हम hospitals में एक service oriented corridor ही design कर देते हैं कई बार, उस basis में हम कई बार hospital की cost cutting कर लेते हैं NEP design में. At the same time, market has become super big. We have materials which we are getting very competitive rates. So instead of sticking ourselves to very 3 materials or 4 materials जो कि आज हॉस्पिटल में कई दिनों से like we have been doing it, using it, designing it. उसके अलावा यदि हम उन materials पे explore करते हैं तो we can definitely cut down the interior cost of the whole hospital, which is way expensive in hospital. Slab up to civil work in hospitals, which is slab area, you can only save somewhat on the slab area, somewhat. Like, you know, I told you, desirable spaces you cannot change, but non-desirable spaces, it is in your hand. You can cut down some slab area in that. But when it comes to interiors, if you do extensive research in what kind of building materials to be used, keeping in mind the infection control of the hospital, automatically you can save a lot. But this needs very extensive level of working while we are designing a hospital. At the same time, I told you, you have to have very good market survey, because these days market is very open and very transparent, and you have materials which you can purchase from across the world. Because hospital infrastructure has become a major part in India now. We lack in so many hospitals. Many international companies who are providing various interior materials for hospitals are giving us materials in very competitive rates. We can do that. At the same time, somehow we have to plan hospital. I told you, like, if it is service oriented hospitals, we have to if we focus more on making hospitals vertical rather than horizontal, you can somewhere club the club the services part together in a very small space. At the same time, you can save on the overall costing of the structure when you spread the hospital. So these are few basic parameters that we follow while designing a hospital. At the same time, I tell you, many times it depends upon the size of hospital as well, whether it is a small hospital that we are designing or it is a huge hospital we are designing. So if it is a huge campus, how can we save more on, we can save much while doing the master planning itself of the hospital. So these are few basic important things, like planning part where we can save money, and somewhere while selecting the materials which we are using for hospitals. In these two manners we can cut down the cost of hospital to a greater extent. Like, even if I tell you that we are designing a hospital, say like 1 lakh square feet, and we save only 50 rupees per square feet of the hospital, 50 rupees per square feet, you can easily cut down the cost by 50 lakh per square feet of the hospital. So these are few basic things that we have to keep in mind, and it is again dependent upon the kind of infrastructure that we are designing Pranjali and Snigdha.
Thank you so much, sir. We will go forward to the questions that have been asked.
Yes.
Thank you so much for asking us the questions. I'll read out a few questions for you. What designs are made, the implementation of forgot?
Snigdha, your voice is cracking a lot.
My voice is cracking?
A lot.
Yeah. Can you hear me? A lot?
Yeah, it's cracking a lot. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
If your voice is proper.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Pranjali.
Yeah, sure, sir. Let me just read out the question. How can hospital architects incorporate adaptable and future-proof design principles into the physical layout and structures of healthcare facilities to accommodate advancements in medical technologies and respond effectively to changing patient demographics? I must say it is a very great question, sir. Sir, Deepak sir, would you like
hospital, Pranjali, like I have seen, I'll give you a basic example. I was designing hadron beam research therapy center for women and children for Tata Memorial, and I did my thesis on that whole project. In fact, so for the first time we came across a medical equipment which is one of its kind in India, right? So it's like we had hadron beam ka pura setup, and it was 10-15 meters below the ground, and you have to create an infrastructure which is जैसे कि आप bomb बना रहे हो, because the treatment is through proton, which is very difficult because ladies are being treated with the help of proton and you can't treat her with electron. तो ये एक नई टेक्निक है जिससे हम बच्चों और लेडीज को ट्रीट करते हैं, उनके कैंसर को ठीक करते हैं. प्रोटॉन इज बीइंग यूज्ड. So because in that case what happens, I tell you, our infrastructure is rapidly developing. At the same time हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत रैपिडली चेंज हो रही है. तो हम क्या करते हैं कई बार कि हम लोग जो मतलब हॉस्पिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की जो बेसिक नॉर्म्स हैं, आप अगर गौर से देखोगे IHFG भी खुद को टाइम टू टाइम अपने वॉल्यूम्स को अपडेट करती रहती है. कई बार एज एन आर्किटेक्ट हम लोग हमारी क्या होती है, वी आर सो मच इनटू मेडिकल, वी आर सो मच इनटू लाइक डिजाइनिंग दी स्पेसेस, वी आर सो मच इनटू डिजाइनिंग सम लाइक हीलिंग काइंड ऑफ स्पेसेस फॉर हॉस्पिटल्स कि हम इस पार्ट को ओवरलुक कर जाते हैं कि बाबा किस प्रकार की टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट हुई है. बट as a hospital architect, you have to be very, very aware of these technologies which are changing. For that, you need to keep in mind basic जो hospital के कुछ guiding principles वाले books हैं या फिर norms हैं जो IHFG हमें देती है, plus जो medical आपको medical infrastructure develop जो करते रहते हैं, जो इन technology को develop करते हैं, उनके साथ back to back इसी प्रकार की seminars plus at the same time उनके साथ बैठ के आपको discussions करते रहने होंगे, तब जाके आप एक अलग लेवल का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं. जैसे अभी देखिए, आप देखिए एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल आपको बताता हूँ. कोविड आया, सिनेरियो हैज कंप्लीटली चेंज्ड इन हॉस्पिटल्स. आई हैव सो मेनी लाइक डॉक्टर्स जो क्लियरली मुझे बोलते हैं कि दीपक आई नीड अ स्पेस जो कोविड के समय हम कंप्लीटली डेडिकेट. कोविड जैसी कोई महामारी अगर फिर से आती है, इफ समथिंग हैपेंस लाइक दैट एवर इन आवर हॉस्पिटल्स, व्हाट विल बी डूइंग देन? इन दैट केस व्हाट कैन वी डू? उस केस के लिए अब हमारे दिमाग में आया कि नो, लेट्स प्लान अ सेपरेट डेडिकेटेड स्पेस इन हॉस्पिटल्स व्हिच वी कैन यूज राइट नाउ, बट व्हेन वी नीड टू कंप्लीटली सेग्रीगेट इट फ्रॉम द हॉस्पिटल, वी हैव दैट प्रोविजन एंड ऑप्शन जिसको हम कंप्लीटली हॉस्पिटल से सेग्रीगेट कर सकें और हम उसको इस प्रकार से प्लानिंग कर सकें ताकि उसकी कंप्लीटली एंट्री एग्जिट सब कुछ अलग से हो सका, उसका सर्विसेज भी अलग से हो सके. सो it's very simple that you have to have very, very futuristic design. हमें लगता है किसी डॉक्टर ने क्वेश्चन भी पूछा उन्होंने कि how can we design futuristic hospitals? I'm telling you डॉक्टर साहब, what happens is like medical infrastructure भी इतनी तेजी से बदल रही है, मतलब designing of medical equipments are slowly like they are changing rapidly. So what, as an architect, we have to be very, very aware of these technological advancement in medical infrastructure. उसको हम लोग बैक टू बैक कुछ नॉर्म्स से पढ़ते रहते हैं. प्लस एट द सेम टाइम क्या होता है कि while designing a hospital we do n number of case studies. We look into what kind of latest infrastructure development in like hospitals. When we do that, we like definitely while discussing with doctors, while discussing with you people who are the stakeholders of hospitals, we try to incorporate those designs also. Many a times I tell you one more thing, like Pranjali, एक बहुत basic, because मैं तो डॉक्टर्स के साथ बैठता हूँ, डील करता हूँ. मैं आपको बताऊँ, हमें कई बार डॉक्टर्स ने इतने अच्छे सजेशन दिए जो कई बार लगता था अरे बाप रे, ये भी हो सकता है क्या? This can also be a way of designing these things, because see they are very intelligent creatures on this earth. अगर वो इंटेलिजेंट होंगे नहीं तो इतने टाइम बैठ के एक जगह ऑपरेशन नहीं कर सकते हैं. And they are super duper possessive, and I tell you it is very good, it's not bad, with their own profession and with the kind of working they are doing. उस स्पेस को जब वो यूज कर रहे होते हैं तो उनको लग रहा होता है कि अरे यार ये स्पेस में यूज कर रहा हूँ, डिजाइन इसको ऐसे कर दिया, बट दिस कुड हैपन लाइक दिस. तो मेनी टाइम्स आई टेल यू, फॉर डिजाइनिंग फ्यूचरिस्टिक डिजाइन इन हॉस्पिटल्स, कीपिंग इन माइंड द upcoming advancement in infrastructure of hospitals, what we have to do, we have to be very, very aware, very, very like recently we have to do we have to have too much of awareness with the recent development in medical technologies. At the same time, we have to like keep some doctors in loop who all the time work on these infrastructure developments, and in this way you can definitely like design something which is very, very good, I guess.
Also, sir, I feel जो technologically advancements जो होते हैं, they are mostly into the machines that are used in the hospital.
Definitely.
So one of the ways could be not compromising on the electrical systems and having
Always.
updated and an upgraded electrical system which can sustain the load of these
100%.
equipments.
100%. We can have, we can have provisions. We can just skip on, but while we see what happens, Pranjali, there's a big question here also. By the way, I have literally very shortage of time now because I have to leave somewhere in 10-15 minutes. So what happens, I tell you एक basic सा आपको मैं चीज बताऊं. कई बार क्या होता है प्रांजलि, while we are designing this, आपने बोला कि हम latest जो electrical की provisioning है, latest जो plumbing की provisioning है, latest मान लीजिए हॉस्पिटल में इवैक्यूएशन सिस्टम्स होते हैं, हॉस्पिटल में मटेरियल ट्रांसफर करने के सिस्टम होते हैं, दवाइयों को इस पार्ट से उस पार्ट तक ट्रांसफर करने के लिए सिस्टम बनाए जाते हैं, उसमें लेटेस्ट एडवांसमेंट होती रहती है, आए दिन होती है. बट कई बार क्या होता है कि हम उसके लिए स्पेस को एलोकेट जरूर कर दें, लेकिन कई बार उस प्रकार की इलेक्ट्रिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को अगर हम ऐड करते हैं तो हॉस्पिटल की कॉस्टिंग बहुत बढ़ जाती है. तो इन दैट केस व्हाट वी कैन डू, हम स्पेसेस को प्ले करके, हम कई बार ऐसा करते हैं हॉस्पिटल में, आई टेल यू, हम स्पेसेस को थोड़ी फ्लेक्सिबल बनाते हैं कि हम अगर हमें जरूरत पड़ी तो उस स्पेस को यूज कर सकें. जैसे पता चला कि जहां मुझे एक पाइप छोड़नी है इलेक्ट्रिकल में, वहां मैंने एक और पाइप छोड़ दी. बाद में हम वायरिंग को लेकर आ जाएंगे, राइट, लेकिन पाइपिंग इज वेरी इट्स वेरी जस्ट एक लीस्ट सा कॉस्ट है, उसको तो बेयर कर ही सकते हैं अपन. इसमें एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है कि जब आएगा तब हम उसको यूज कर ले, बट अभी के लिए हम हॉस्पिटल की कॉस्ट को एकदम से नहीं बढ़ा सकते, राइट. स्पेसेस को फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी के साथ डिजाइन कर लो, आई गेस आप बहुत बहुत अच्छे से अपन इन चीजों को केटर कर सकते हैं.
Definitely, sir. Shall we move to the next question?
Yeah, please. I have literally a little less time.
Okay, sir. So what we can do is we can answer these questions in the comment box. I urge all of you to put your questions in the comment box, and we'll answer it. Even Deepak sir will answer it. So, sir, do you want to take one last question though?
Yeah, why not? Please.
Yeah, let's take this one. Will green hospital help in energy saving?
100%.
I think this is a very good question.
Is this? I think there's a question which is मतलब इसमें तो कोई मतलब दौड़ाई ही नहीं होनी चाहिए. ग्रीन हॉस्पिटल्स हम क्रिएट करेंगे तो एनर्जी सेविंग होगी कि नहीं होगी. अभी आपने देखा होगा we have so much of while designing a hospital which is green and energy efficient, we work a lot on materials, we work a lot on designs, like how to place. अभी आप बात कर रहे थे कि हम OPD को यहाँ प्लेस कर लेते हैं, ICU को यहाँ प्लेस कर लेते हैं. We will have to, कई बार क्या होता है कि हम अपनी बड़े हॉस्पिटल जब होते हैं तो हम लैंडस्केप को किस प्रकार से प्ले करते हैं, ये सब भी बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर होता है ग्रीन बिल्डिंग को डिजाइन करने के लिए. Which you guys have already studied your architecture courses. We have studied a lot. We see a lot on internet. These days तो internet इतना easy हो चुका है accessibility कि आप कुछ भी पढ़ सकते हो कहीं भी. Definitely क्या होता है while designing a hospital infrastructure, I tell you, energy saving कैसे होगी, इसके लिए हमें क्या क्या measures लेने होंगे. आज की डेट में कई सारे ऐसे हॉस्पिटल्स हैं जो फुल्ली सोलार पे ही चल रहे हैं, कंप्लीटली सोलार पे चल रहे हैं. आउटर वॉल्स जो हॉस्पिटल्स में क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं, आपने देखा होगा आजकल हॉस्पिटल्स में ग्रीन फसाड्स क्रिएट किए जा रहे हैं. व्हाट इज दैट? यू समहाउ स्टॉप योर बिल्डिंग फ्रॉम गेटिंग हीटेड टू मच, बिकॉज हॉस्पिटल एक ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है जहां पे आपको ऑल द टाइम फुल्ली एसी को चलाते रहना है, हमेशा आपको एचवैक को मेंटेन करना है. आप इसके लोड को कैसे कम कर सकते हो? हाउ कैन यू डू दैट? आपने देखा होगा हम फॉल सीलिंग की हाइट को 8 फीट पे बेयर मिनिमम 8 फीट 3 इंचेस पे रख देते हैं. कई बार हम क्यों रख देते हैं 8 फीट 3 इंचेस पे? इसलिए रख देते हैं ताकि हमारी एसी का लोड काफी कम हो जाए. एंड दैट आल्सो सेव्स योर एनर्जी एंड मेक्स योर बिल्डिंग ग्रीन समहाउ. If you are cutting down on energy consumption of a building, you automatically making the building green and energy efficient. While planning the building, you have to see हमें किस तरफ maximum greenery और किस तरफ हमें फसाड को प्रोजेक्ट करना है, किस तरफ हम ग्रीन फसाड्स यूज कर सकते हैं. ऑटोमेटिकली आपकी बिल्डिंग की एनर्जी सेविंग हो जाती है. we do a lot. There are so many things we say, we do. We use various materials sometimes. हम energy efficient materials का भी use करते हैं hospitals में कई बार. There is a lot to talk. मतलब there are list of materials जो आपको IGBC का तो नाम सुना ही अपन लोगों ने, तो वो भी कई सारे materials suggest करती है जिसको use करके हम hospital design कर सकते हैं. Automatically we can save a lot on that part also. But for that we need to have very again I told you, in planning we can make building green. In terms of using materials we can make building green. At the same time, while building is running, cutting the cost of HVAC, cutting the cost of electricity, allowing maximum daylight in your building, at least till 5-6 p.m. At the same time, cutting the cost, doing a proper landscape, you guys can definitely make the building whole like too green and too energy efficient, I guess.
Thank you, sir. This was very good.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepak ji, for an insightful webinar on how important it is to have an healthcare architect for hospital designing. And many thanks to Pranjali and Snigdha. Your topics were also quite interesting. I am sure there is
Thank you, sir.
a lot to talk on all three topics, all three architects, but currently we have space constraint, time constraint. And I hope the next webinars will be more insightful on and more detailed on the discussion on the topics we have touched base today. So anything else we are missing, Pranjali, we need to discuss on this webinar, or we have covered everything?
Yes, sir, we have covered everything, and our viewers will be posting the questions on our in our comment box, and we'll be replying to them there.
Great. So
Thanks a lot, Vishal ji.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pranjali and Snigdha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and happy weekend to all of you.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.